Welcome once again to the Sage. Thank you for being with us. This, we promise you, is a show you're really going to enjoy. As usual, I am Dr. Keji Owago, your guide on this show, a show in which we discover hidden treasures, in which we discover the wonderful talents amongst our people, in which we reaffirm that we as a people are good, and that the majority of us are good, and that there are many hidden, unnoticed treasures in our people that we often don't think about often enough. Usually we like to be light-hearted and happy when we do these shows, but I'm going to ask to be excused if we're more serious than ever for this particular show, because of the issue we think we should address. Today we shall be looking at the issue of climate change. It is a serious one, and I'm not sure there's any way in which one can treat it lightly. A year ago, we're still, all of us, recovering from a huge global emergency, the COVID pandemic. As I said, we're still in the process of recovery in many parts of the world. But what we must not forget is that even before the COVID, there was already a global emergency, climate change. I might even be bold enough to say that the COVID itself may be directly or indirectly a result of that change that is happening to our climate. What is climate change? I am going to be as simple and straightforward as the layman that I am, but also as many of you, our viewers, are. Climate change is something that is of dire importance to all of us, and yet very, very technical. But for us to be able to come together to do what is necessary, we need to understand it in simple terms. So for the very experts out there and researchers, bear with me as I whittle it down to the simplicity we can all understand. Climate change simply means there is great evidence now available that our Earth as we know it, our world as we know it, increasing in temperature. So the Earth's temperature is increasing, and that there are serious consequences because of this. Consequences which we are already beginning to live and see, and which will, by scientific projections, be a great deal worse in future for our children and our unborn children, and indeed for our world. Science tells us that many of the high extreme temperatures, whether it's heat or cold, the floods, the earthquakes, the droughts, the desertification, and many more, are all indeed as a result of this increasing temperature of the climate change. Why is the next simple question. Why is our Earth's temperature increasing? Again, a great deal of evidence exists that says that it's because of our energy consumption and use. And therefore, the way we produce our energy, the way we use them and transport them, the way we use them in our homes, in our daily lives, in our factories, the way we dispose of the products of those energy products, all lead to an emission of gases. These are called greenhouse gases, gases which, when they get to the biosphere, to the Earth's surface, even though they allow light in, thank goodness, they, however, trap heat, and heat doesn't go off, and so the Earth's surface's temperature keeps increasing. These so-called greenhouse gases include things like carbon dioxide, nitrous oxide, and so on and so forth. We produce them for energy purposes, we use them, we produce
products from these energy sources, petroleum, what we call fossil fuels, petroleum, gas, diesel, and so on. We produce things like plastic, tires, and many other things from them. The very act of production, the very act of transportation, the fact that these products are non-degradable, and by that I mean that they don't degrade and becoming, absorbed in the atmosphere. Instead, they also emit the greenhouse gases. All of these contribute to the problem we find ourselves in today. The problem is said to be so serious that the world as we know it today is going to be changed drastically for the worse if we don't do anything. The United Nations has been aware of this based on research, and I feel that at this point in time, based on the weight of evidence available, that only the greatest skeptic will say that there isn't a problem about climate change. The United Nations has been for almost 3 decades organizing global conferences to deal with this emergency. There was an epoch-marking conference in 2015 called the COP21. COP being, as I understand, a conference of parties, which is the name given colloquially to these global climate change conferences. There, global leaders present for the first time ever agreed on country-by-country basis to work to create plans which would allow each country, particularly the developed countries that indeed do the greatest damage when it comes to greenhouse gas emission, to devise plans by which they would reduce the temperatures of our Earth's surface. The agreement was that by 2030, the temperature increase per year globally for our Earth should not be more than 2 degrees centigrade, or at the very, if possible, 1.5. And by 2050, by mid-century, that there will be almost no emission, net zero emission, so to say. The COVID took over the forefront last year. We all know what happened and continues to ravage the world. Global leaders are again coming together in another 2 to 3 weeks, during the first 2 weeks of November 2021, to recommit to intensify efforts for climate change. This conference will take place in the UK and will also be jointly organized by Italy. This is therefore the time, indeed, to refocus everybody's attention to the need to be part of this global effort. While the greatest work may need to be done by the developed world, I personally think that those of us in developing countries probably have an even greater stake in this discussion. Why? We suffer the most from the effect of climate change. The floods, the earthquakes, the droughts, the impact on our agriculture, the impact on our waters and our seas affect us more, because not only just because we're poor, but because where we live, these phenomena are most gross. So yes, we have a stake to be at that global conference, if nothing else, to urge the superpowers to do what they promise. And it's also important to say that in Paris, they promised that approximately $100 billion will be raised yearly to support the less rich countries in the effort combating the effect of climate change. They need to be held accountable for that promise. But for this show, I am coming down to something else. I am zeroing in on the fact that the greenhouse gases are also made worse and contributed to by the way we dispose our waste. For many of us in the world, particularly in the third world, we use plastics, tires. So many waste products are produced from our normal day-to-day living, which are hardly disposed of. when you do not dispose of them properly. They are non-biodegradable, which means that they can lie in the atmosphere for close to 400 to 500 years. And yet, while they're there, occupying landfills, occupying oceans, they're emitting these greenhouse gases and contribute to the problem. And therefore, we all have a role to play. We in the third world, we in Nigeria, must do our own bit as we go to clamor and urge the superpowers to do more, to fulfill their promises, to give us funds, to allow us to do what needs to be done in combating the effects of climate change. For us, charity must begin at home as well. We must learn to better dispose of our waste and find innovative ways to turn that waste to other purposes. And that is now the exciting part of this program, because we have shining examples to bring before you of innovation, of many of our young people who are already recognizing this urgency, recognizing this need, and doing their bit in solving the problems of climate change in our country. Stay with us. We'll tell you more when we come back. Welcome back to the show, and thank you for having been with us. Before we took a break, we were talking about the urgent issue of climate change. But like I said, we are now entering the optimistic, heart-lifting part of it. The fact that there are people out there, our own homegrown people, who are already so much aware of this that they have started to work to be solutions, to be part of the solution to the problem. On the show today, and we shall be talking to a remarkable young man, is a young man who recently won an award in doing that. But before we come to him, let me say that Conversations for Change, in collaboration with Seplat Energy PLC, we've always recognized the need, the importance of working to improve our planet. And therefore, as we've looked for young entrepreneurs to support and help them establish their enterprises, we've always had an eye for those who also recognized this urgency, who had innovative ideas for improving our planet. And so we have quite a few of them. Remarkable young people, some who actually turn our wastes that are not properly being disposed into beautiful arts objects that can then be used in the homes and not left undegraded. There are some who actually venture into collecting the wastes and making sure they're recycled, and many others. Please join us as we showcase some of their results, some of their work. But I think the greatest and most exciting lesson from it is the fact that they have turned their activities into income-generating enterprises. Join us, enjoy.
While reading and researching, I discovered that Nigeria has a population of over 200 million people. And it's so sad and unfortunate that we are tagged as the waste capital of Africa because of the high level. Yes, we are. Yes, we are tagged as the waste capital of Africa. And it was so heartbreaking to discover this, because also I kept checking, I kept reading and inquiring on how much waste the average Nigerian household generates. And like annually, it's reported to be over 120 to 150 million tons annually of solid waste. And you ask yourself, where do these waste items go to? So your neighborhood or your home or your environment might seem neat, but when these solid waste items are taken away from these places, where do they actually go to? They pollute our oceans, our water bodies. They go to dump sites. In other parts, they are littering the entire environment. They go to landfills, and these dump sites keep building up. They keep accumulating, they keep piling up. So I knew, and then the unfortunate thing is most of these solid waste items are non-biodegradable. So which means you could have a plastic bottle today that you innocently bought water and you drank and you discarded it, and in your mind you feel, I've discarded it, but that plastic bottle is somewhere in our environment, standing exactly as it was. It hasn't broken down in any form.
Because it is
it is non-biodegradable. It does not disintegrate into the environment until, like, after, for plastic bottles, it could take up to 400 to 500 years. Can you imagine that?
My name is Priscilla, and I'm from Delta State. I'm a graduate of civil engineering from Landmark University, and I'm the founder and creative director of Mary P Creations. Now, it's no news that Nigeria alone produces over 32 million tons of solid waste annually, of which just about 20 to 30% of these waste items are collected, leaving the large uncollected percentage lying around in our environment, in our water bodies and our landfills. Now at Mary P Creations, we've come up with creative ways to curb this issue of environmental pollution, and we do this using the concept of upcycling. The Mary P Creation brand is focusing on using these waste items ranging from our discarded tires, our bottles, fabric offcuts, which is also regarded as fashion waste, and wood offcuts, and creatively using them to create beautiful furniture and decorative products for our interior spaces, be it residential or commercial. At Mary P Creations, we are not just passionate about beautification, but we are also passionate about solving and curbing the issue of environmental pollution one waste at a time. So far, the Mary P Creation brand has been able to incorporate what we regard as the fashion waste and fabric offcuts into our designs, also promoting our rich cultural heritage through the production of our furniture, our throw pillows, our decorative vases, and other furnishing collections that we have available. At the end, it's not just about creating beautiful products, but also making an impact in the lives of people by helping them earn a living from upcycling. We are Mary P Creations. We're passionate about beautification. We are also passionate about the environment.
Cash for Trash tackles climate change and reduce the need for extraction and processing of raw materials from natural resources. We do this by recovering a variety of recyclable waste materials, such as PET plastic bottles, HDPE, corrugated cartons, old and used books, by paying an instant cash value to our subscribers that are made up of middle to low income earners and those who are at most risk of poverty.
Wisdom, give me some wisdom.
If I have this cash and I use it to buy trash, what is my cash meant for?
Cash for trash. Don't leave me, don't leave me, don't leave me.
Should I give you another wisdom?
Yes.
If I am a woman and I am packing bola, what does that make me?
Mama Bola, don't leave me, don't leave me.
By the end of 2022, we would have saved over 600 tons of recyclable waste materials from ending up on streets and landfills, and at least 10 people will be gainfully employed. My name is Lillian Anefu Eyun, and I am the owner of Cash for Trash Recycling Abuja.
My name is Ruth Ede. I am the founder of Scrap Up Nigeria Limited, a sustainable development goal-driven social enterprise that utilizes bio-waste into the production of standard organic fertilizers that meet soil and plant need. At Scratop, we promote arable farmland and soil health, high-quality organic food crop production, and bio-waste utilization. What we call waste is not always useless. The problem is that we don't know how to utilize it and make it useful. This is why the 57% of bio-waste generated by Nigerians have only been underutilized and majorly been a nuisance to society. And on the other hand, our farmers continue producing food crop using chemical fertilizers because of the unavailability, high cost, and unaccessibility of organic fertilizers. This is why Scratop exists. Our waste agro synergy had made it possible for farmers to go organic. With our proprietary recipe, farmers can have access to high quality organic fertilizers that are purely formulated from bio-waste, and society can enjoy a waste-free environment. Join us to sell waste, go organic, and save the planet. Thank you.
Welcome back once again. And wasn't that exciting? We say to the many millions and thousands of young people out there, these are just to give you ideas. Ideas by which you can make money, but ideas that would save our planet and improve the lives of all of us. As I had said before, we crown this showcasing of excellence by the special privilege we have today of having on set with us a remarkable young man. A young man we discovered at the recently held Seplat Energy Summit, where he was one of the 3 finalists for the Seplat Energy competition on environmental sustainability. It's indeed a pleasure to welcome Nonso Opurum to the show. Nonso, thank you for, at the very last minute, agreeing and being pressured into being here on this show. Nonso Opurum is the CEO of Soso Care. He is a former banker, he's a sales agent, a web designer, and development journalist. Whatever that is. He is a fellow at the Leap Africa Social Innovation for his works on utilizing technology to improve healthcare access. In 2018, he founded Jara Care Innovation, a digital platform which improves access to healthcare through telemedicine. This initiative was actually selected as one of the 7 startups from Africa by the University of Basel in Switzerland. In 2019, Nonso founded Soso Care, a low-cost health insurance which aims to solve health inequality in Nigeria and somehow manages to combine it with issues of environmental sustainability. Nonso and his team accept both cash and recyclables to create inclusion for those very poor people who cannot afford health care and who cannot afford to pay for health insurance. Nonso holds a diploma in business studies, a BA in business studies, an MBA in policy and strategic management from Greenwich University, UK. He has also taken many other courses, including the World Bank's Basics on Health Economics. Nonso, it's a pleasure. Welcome to the Sage.
Thank you, Doc, for having me today.
The pleasure is ours. And it's like I said, we were very, very impressed indeed at the summit, to know that the panel of judges whom I hear were rigorous and had gone through hundreds of entries, had chosen you amongst the top finalists. Thank you. Welcome for the great work you're doing in Soso Care and your other initiatives. Thank you for agreeing to talk to our viewers. Let me start by asking you to tell us about yourself. Who is Nonso? What got Nonso to do these things?
I think you've said it all yourself. My name is Nonso, and I am the founder of Soso Care. And what we do with Soso Care is that we aim to provide low-cost health insurance to millions of people across over 1,000 hospitals. And
even before you go into Soso Care,
okay.
Tell us what drove Nonso. Okay. Where do you come from? What drove you? Because others like you, and they'll be wondering, was this boy? Did he have a godfather somewhere that? Yeah. Tell us.
Well, actually, there's nothing there. We just do what we can do. I'm from Nigeria, actually, and I grew up in the eastern part of Nigeria. And after high school, I grew up in a moderate middle-income class family, where I eat 3 square meals every day. So I didn't really know what is poverty. So I think after university, I started reading books around development health and health economics. It changed my narrative around how people. I think I read The End of Poverty by Jeffrey Sachs. It taught me so many things that people actually go to bed without food. And when I see people, give tokens, give tips for UN agencies, I just feel like, but families are okay in Africa. Like until when I relocated back to Nigeria, I had to go through. I went by road from Abuja back to the east. When I saw the kind of houses that were around that on Kenya Road, that was when it dawned on me that there's still poverty around in Nigeria. So what I realized then was. So I'm telling you this story. So what I realized that when I was traveling, I told my friend that, did you observe that for every poor home we pass, there's a grave in front of it? Like this, for every 3 homes we pass, we see a grave. That means people were dying because they were poor. And it's obvious that most of them, they even like this. Most of these deaths could be from preventable diseases, if they actually could be like tetanus or simple cases where people shouldn't die. So it changed my entire narrative around health. And so I've always have interest in, global development, and I found myself doing health, and it's something that I do. I just do it for passion, and that's how we've been, and that's what we do. We started with Soso Care to enable people to talk to doctors online until when I was going to Basel for a training in Switzerland, I saw kids, 7 and 9, picking plastics by the roadside. So when I asked them what they were doing with the plastics, they told me they were picking it for their mom, who will give it to a local drugstore. Like Abo people, all these people that make local drugs. So in exchange, the woman will use the plastic to put the local herbs and give their mom some herbs for their little brother. So it changed everything we were doing. Like we're trying to provide a way to connect people.
Let me stop you, Nonso.
Okay.
Because I want to explore in a bit more detail the concept of Java Care and telemedicine and how it actually works, as well as the Soso Care, the health insurance bit and how that works. And for you also to discuss why were you moved for these environmental concerns. So we'll take a break, a long break in fact, and continue in episode 2 next week, and say to our viewers, make sure you tune in next week if you want to catch this very revealing and amazing journey by this wonderful young man we have in the studio. Thank you. We'll see you all next week. Stay with us.